All right, so first coding challenge of the bootcamp. So actually, probably you noticed you receive lots of notifications. Yeah, probably the notification engine is sponsored by Red Bull or something like that, right? There's something that needs to be fixed, obviously. Anyway, so question number one. By the way, is the video quality good enough? Can you see my screen? Can you see the code and everything? Yes. Okay. Okay, fair enough. So on the first question, this is lower beginner, pretty simple. We got a hello message. The hello message should have a size of 50 pixels. So how do you change the font size in CSS, guys? Is it option A, B, C, or D? C. All right, font size 50 pixels. That's interesting. Font size. Let's see if that's the right option. That's correct, guys. In CSS, you can change the size of the text by using font size. Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. So hopefully we can move to the next question. Let's talk about borders. So using borders, someone is typing something. Let me have a look. In case someone was suggesting there was some echo, maybe. Let me have a look. All right, yeah, absolutely, Maxime, no problem at all. Well, you can catch up later on. So, yeah, so let's talk about borders. So, hello, dash borders. So we need to apply border dash border with 3 pixels and orange. So, what's the right option? A, B, C, or D? D. Yeah, that's correct. Because look at the structure, guys. This is what we call a CSS shortcut. Because we're applying 3 properties in one line. First of all, the width of the borders, the thickness of the borders, 3 pixel. Then the style could be solid, could be dotted, could be dashed. Yeah, you see dashed, like a bunch of rectangles. Yeah, and eventually the color of the border, orange. So when we select it, then it just works. So let's have a look to question number 3. Let's talk about movies once again. In this occasion, we're going to display a list of movies. And when you use UL and LIs, so these essentially represent lists. And generally speaking, the lists are prefixed with a circle or a disk on the left-hand side. In this occasion, you see, for instance, here I got a list out of coincidence, and I got some bullet points indicating I have a list of elements. However, in this use case scenario, I want to get rid of the circles. I want to get rid of the dots, of the bullet points. So, does anyone know how to get rid of the circles in CSS? A, B, C, or D? D for the B. D for Denmark. Delta. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Let's select D. So it didn't evaluate. Let me press test. Yeah, that's correct. Actually, I think my that's a bit confusing because actually that was my fault. I didn't explain that correctly. That's my fault. I was thinking the exercise wanted you to get rid of the disks, but that's not correct. Look, the screenshot is a bit weird. What we had to do, and that's my fault because I didn't read instructions, is the main thing here is we don't want any spacing. We don't want any padding on the left hand side of the list. Yeah, that was my fault, guys. Sorry, I didn't explain that correctly. Yeah, so with padding 0, we are removing any spacing on the left hand side. Yeah, that was the point about this question. Sorry about that. Question number 4. That's interesting because so far we've seen UL and OL. So do you know the difference between the UL tag and the OL tag? Okay. That's correct. UL stands for, I think, an ordered list. So UL is essentially a list of things, ABC, rice, milk, cake, yeah, without any specific order. And OL means order list. So OL will display a bunch of numbers: first, second, and third, as you can see here. So whenever you want to display a sequence where the order matters, like in this particular case, you use OL. If you don't care about the order of the elements, you just use UL. I mean, in this particular case, the exercise is clearly inviting us to use OL, and likewise, we need to use LI to, render individual elements in that list. So hopefully that will display the correct answer. Yeah. Any questions so far, guys? No. On the last one, we have to display a border with some particularities. So first of all, the border should be yellow with a width of 3 pixels and should be solid. So that's the first thing here, right? So let's try to find out the right answer. So here, as we've seen before, the shortcut to display a border is just typing border, not borderline or border type or border style. Option A, B, and D just don't make any sense. So we'll mark option C. And finally, as we need to select the radius of the border, you see there is a radius surrounding the border. So according to the instructions, the radius should be 15 pixels. So the way you can set up a radius on the border of your box is by selecting border radius. I think that's the right syntax. So if we mark it, then we got confetti time, and that's pretty much it about lower beginner. Any final thoughts, guys, about the lower beginner? How was it? Was it easy? Was it hard? Yeah, I mean, considering the majority of you managed to solve all the questions, we won't probably play it again, the lower beginner. Yeah, of course, it goes without saying that if you feel you are not comfortable enough with lower beginner, you go to Codery platform, you can continue playing with it, and it goes without saying. If you got any queries, please, let me know, and I will be more than happy to support you as far as possible. What about the mid-beginner level? What we got today here? So, right, I click on the. Oh, guys, what happened? I click on the. I don't know what I click. Let me go back to the list of challenges. I don't know what I did, guys, to be honest, but let me try to play it. Oh, that's a bit weird. It doesn't let me go through. All right, let me try to play it again. That's a bit strange. Never seen that. Oh, I cannot play. All right, that's a bit weird, right? I cannot play the mid-beginner. That was happened to what, sorry? Oh, really? So you couldn't play the mid-beginner? That's interesting. I never seen that. Oh. Anyways, I'll check the logs, guys. I don't know what will happen here. I cannot tell you, but because I don't want to ruin your productivity, let me try to jump straight to the upper beginner, and of course I'll check the logs and I'll try to fix whatever the problem is afterwards. So it looked like, thankfully, I can play the upper beginner. So let's see what we got today. Let me try to do something a bit different. I would like to play this challenge in mobile mode. You know, guys, that Codery is supported in mobile devices. So that means that I can essentially do swipe left and right, you see, and then I can play with the challenge. So hopefully that will help on the readability, because now the code is larger, yeah, than it used to be before. So on the first question, that's pretty simple. We just need to change the font size of the text. I think we've solved something very similar on the lower beginner challenge. So once again, you know that to change the font size to 50 pixels, we have to type font size 50 pixels, and of course we need to look after the HTML part, where we just need to display a label. Paying attention to the instructions, we need to display a label with a hello message on it. So let's just type label, hello, and label. So what do you think, guys? Will this work or not? All right, let's have a look. Yes, confetti time. Yeah, so that works. That was pretty That was pretty simple. Let me check because someone is asking something, I believe, on the chat. Maybe someone cannot speak. Let me have a look. Okay, cool. Thank you, Aaron. What we have now on, let me go back to the where I am. Yeah, so that was question number 2, I believe. Here you go. I think we've solved that on the lower beginner, if I'm correct. Yeah, but we can solve it again. That's a piece of cake. So just to recap a bit, we got the label. So on the label, we can display border, 3 pixel, solid, not solid, dust, if you remember, and then orange. Yeah, so 3 pixels dash orange, that will hopefully add a border surrounding my label. So let's see if that works. Oh, sorry, say it again. I did something wrong. What happened here? Dash. Oh, I misspelled it. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a typo. So here we go. Problem solved. Someone is trying to join. Here is Rafa. Hey, Rafa. Good to see you, mate. We are just reviewing the upper beginner exercise. All right, so that was the second one. Once again, let me leave the third question until the end, and then if you are curious about how to solve it, I'll show you. Once again, to me, this question was overcomplicated. You were not expected to know how to solve the problem. However, I will have a look to it afterwards if that helps you a bit. Yeah. So let me skip it for now, and then question number 4. That was an interesting one. So modern football is sport, and then we got a line like this is not valid anymore, and now modern football is a business. Yeah. So the idea here is to add a line in the middle of the sport word. So how can we do that? Well, first of all, let's focus on the HTML. Something you will notice, guys, is that I don't necessarily follow a logical sequence of actions. So what I used to do is I focus on the easiest part of the exercise first, and then even if it's not a sequential order, and then once I got that sorted, I pay attention to the complexity, yeah, to the details. So modern football is a sport business, and then sport needs to be strike through. So I'm gonna add a label surrounding it because it requires some special styling. And if you pay attention, guys, at the bottom, the exercise is telling me that the label should have a class. You see? Oh, sorry, guys. You see that structure label dot line through? That means this selector will attack any label with a class line through. So label class line through. Yep, something like that. And then, can anyone tell me how can I add a line in the middle of the label? Text decoration, that's correct. Text decoration and then line through, yeah? Through, let me spell that correctly. Through, yeah, something like that. Yeah, so that's the way you can strike through, or you can add a line through on a given element. So unless I did a typo somewhere, let's see if that works. Correct, we got confetti time. Any questions about this exercise? No? Okay, so then... Sorry, can you repeat the question, please? Yeah. As I said, yeah. After this one, I'll solve the third one, the portfolio question for whoever is interested. Yeah. Cool. So last one. Do you like the internet? Download it in a floppy disk. Yeah. That was a classic 90s joke. So first of all, the HTML bit. Do you like the internet? Download it. So let's focus on the markup first. So we got the paragraph. Let's close it. Do you like the internet? Look after spacing, guys. I saw one of the teams having some issues with the spaces here. Download it. And now we need to do a couple of things. First of all, I believe we need to change the color of the text from white to green. So you need to change the color. You just have to type color green, and now I need to add a line at the bottom of my text. So does anybody know how can I add a line at the bottom of my text? Again, that's correct, guys. Text decoration, underline. Yeah, you remember before underline. Yeah, before we use text decoration line through, and now we use text decoration underline to add a line at the bottom of my. I think I missed the question mark. You see, there was a question mark after the internet. It's a silly typo. Silly typo, guys. Do you like the internet? So let me try again, and this time we got confetti time. Any questions? No? Alright, so we just got the famous question number 3. I would like to go back to desktop mode if you don't mind. So let me zoom my screen out because I need to type a lot of text and I will easily add typos and things like that, right? So let me go back to desktop mode. And so to me, there are two things here. First of all, we got the markup. The markup is just about paying attention to details. Yeah, there is nothing particularly complicated apart from the risk of adding typos. Yeah, but then we got the complicated part, which is what we are gonna change later on today, which is the CSS. I think the CSS was overcomplicated for this question. So let me first of all focus on the HTML bit. So you got a portfolio with a header, and then you got 2 columns. So this is what we call semantic HTML. Why semantic HTML? Because actually this is not correctly indented. So the tags gives you some idea about the content or where that content will be displayed on the screen. So header, this is a very strong message. So header is telling, hey, this content will be on top of the screen. Main, like this is the most important part. Section, this is what will be displayed on the left hand side, which is wrong. So let me replace the text. Replace with a nice picture of Tokyo. So this is some sort of placeholder. So replace with a nice picture of Tokyo, something like that. Let me check the typos. Replace with a nice picture of Tokyo, correct. And then if we use the instructions, we see that the second column, the column with all the details about Tokyo, is represented by a tag called aside or aside. I don't know how you pronounce that. Is aside or aside, guys? Aside. All right. Well, whatever. So you got the aside column. So this is some sort of a standard in HTML. Yeah. So this is the way you can structure your modern HTML content. That has nothing to do with the eventual representation of your portfolio. So this is just semantics. That's the way you can inform, you can tell your colleagues how your portfolio is structured. On the aside column, we got a bunch of text, and according to the instructions, the text should be separated by different paragraphs. So in HTML, a paragraph is represented by a p tag. So let's just write some text. I lived in Tokyo for 1 year in 2015, and I really enjoyed it. So let me type the text. I lived in Tokyo for 1 year in 2015 and really enjoyed it! Exclamation mark. So then we just need to look after the other tags, some facts about Tokyo, and then eventually the last p tag is reasons I like Tokyo. Yeah, to me the main complexity here is to match the copy, to match the text we are trying to display. It's very easy to introduce typos and things like that. So that's the HTML part. But what about the CSS? So what I'm going to explain now is beyond the scope of this challenge, because we'll run a workshop within the next days to explain how to solve the problem. But long story short, we have a layout with 2 columns. First column and then the second column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something in CSS called display grid. So with display grid, we can easily create a layout with multiple rows and columns. I could use flex as well. Once again, don't worry if you think I'm speaking Chinese, because you were not supposed to know that. That's why I'm not very happy about this question. Yeah. But anyway, because we came across the question, let's just talk about it. So display grid will create a layout, and now we can customize the layout. So we can use something called grid template columns. And now I can specify the shape of my layout. I can specify some fragments. So a fragment is just a column in CSS. So if I do something like 1FR, 1FR, look at what I've done here. That sounds weird, but this is super powerful, guys. So 1FR, 1FR means my layout will have two columns, and both columns will have the same size. Yeah. One fragment and one fragment. However, in this particular exercise, actually, let me evaluate that. That won't work, but let me evaluate that to show you the result. Oh, sorry, guys. Can you see the problem? I missed something. Can you see? Can you see what the problem is? Yep. Exactly, Elena. Was that Elena? Yeah, so Elena's right. By accident, you see, by accident, I dropped the aside content outside of the main tag. Yeah, so that was a silly mistake from my side. So let me evaluate it again. Let me, guys, look after indentation to make sure my my HTML looks decent. So let me get rid of some unnecessary break lines, and let me try again. That looks better. You see, I got two columns, which is nice because I wanted two columns. The main issue is, originally speaking, the second column, I think this is explained here. Here you go. The first column, which is the section, should fit 1/3 of the available width. However, the second column, the aside one, should fit 2/3 of the available width. What that means? What that means is I have to change on the grid template columns. On the second one, it should be 2FR rather than 1FR. Yeah? So 1FR, 2FR means in reality, I got three virtual columns, three fragments. The first column will span 1 out of 3, and the second column will span 2 out of 3. Does it make sense? So once again, don't worry if that's a bit complicated, because you were not supposed to know that. Yeah, I'm just trying to solve the problem. One more thing, I missed the title actually, guys. So title Tokyo, according to the instructions, it should have an H4 heading. So let me add maybe an H4 heading with the word Tokyo in capitals. I think H4. Yeah, and then there is something else, guys. To me, if it wasn't complicated enough, look at the last line of the description. Please separate both columns via 15 pixels gather. In other words, if I run this, that won't probably work. It's close. You see, it's close. However, you see, on the original question, we got some spacing separating the columns. In our case, we don't have any spacing. You see, as soon as we finish the first column, we start the second one. That makes everything just more complicated. There are multiple ways we can solve the problem, using padding, using margin, whatever. Let me show you a very sexy way. When you use grid, as we'll see shortly, you can pass a new rule called grid gap, and with grid gap you can establish the separation between your columns. So if I put grid gap 15 pixels, essentially I'm adding a gap of 15 pixels separating my columns. So if I evaluate it, you see eventually I got confetti time. Do you have any questions? No? Uh-huh. Really? Nice. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I give you the point. Actually, we got a whole series of exercises about building your portfolio. Probably you've seen that already. So if you go to the training and then you select where I am, you select HTML and CSS. So guys, if you play the build a portfolio, so you get 5 questions about how to build a portfolio from scratch. So first of all, you got the header, then you got some background color, then you add some content, then you build the layout. You know, it's a step-by-step process. So let me invite you to play with it. Even though once again, I need to rethink that module a bit because I believe this is overcomplicated for beginners. That's overcomplicated. I like the HTML part. I think that's okay, but I think the CSS part, it's too complicated under my point of view. And based on your performance, I mean, you managed to solve all the questions easily, and you struggle with that one. So that means that it is probably out of the scope of the beginner track. That's pretty much it from my side, guys. So any final thoughts? Any final questions? Cool. Yes, one last thing. Obviously, I obviously check your feedback. Thank you very much for your saying your thoughts, and apologies for the problems that some of you had, especially Rafa. I'll try to fix these issues. And something I'm working at the moment is I'm working on a feature to replay the challenge, because at the moment, unfortunately, you cannot replay it. You cannot play it again. You can play the questions individually on the training, but you cannot play the exact challenge again. So I'm working on a feature to give you the chance to replay it, and yeah, I'll just let you know how when it's ready. Apart from that, thank you very much, guys. I'll go back to you on Slack in a minute, sharing the snippet that we are gonna review tomorrow afternoon, the board challenge, and I would like you to spend some minutes thinking about it, playing with it. You remember yesterday I told you how to set up Visual Studio Code to play with snippets, with code snippets. So I would like you, if possible, this afternoon to play with it, because tomorrow I would like to ask you some questions to see if you understood what the snippet is supposed to do. Thank you very much, guys. Let me know if you need any help on Slack. See you later. Cheers.